So I'm Lonnie Rowell from University of San Diego, and I'm co-chair of the inaugural conference of ARNA, and of course here we are at ARNA. I also chair the coordinating group of the organizing committee, and so that gets translated as chair of the organizing committee for ARNA. And the organizing committee is a group of 21 people that came together just a few months ago and has been interacting primarily through the internet. So that this is the first time that we've all met in person. Different subgroupings of us have known each other and worked together, but this is really the first time that everybody's kind of been together on the same place at the same time. So ARNA grew out of work that I've been doing at the University of San Diego since 2004, and I organized an annual action research committee or action research conference that first blossomed in 2004 and then evolved over 3 or 4 year period to become each year a little bit bigger, a little more inclusive in terms of the different kinds of action research represented in the conference. And we finally, last year at the 9th annual conference, we had a meeting where I brought together people who have been coming to our conference for a few years, and they're people who are from different universities, different parts of the country. And we sat down and started taking a longer view of things as far as what we've been doing, each of us in our own respective universities. So, for example, Joe Shosh from Moravian, he had an annual conference at his university where his students would share their work on action research as part of teacher training. Margaret Rowell from Pepperdine University had an annual conference where people who are part of their masters in educational technology would share their work. My conference initially was for people who were doing school counseling and utilizing action research as part of school counselor preparation programs. We're coming together and sharing the work that our students were doing. Gradually, that evolved to include people from teacher training, from school leadership training, and from counseling, and then from other groups, community-based groups that are doing action research, etc. So when we sat down last year, it became clear, I think, to all of us pretty quickly that we were at a place where we had to reconceptualize what it was that we were trying to accomplish through these individual conferences that we have. The other one that was represented in that conversation was University of Notre Dame, which has its own annual conference. And I think the point for us became not to replace the conferences that are happening at each institution, but to find ways to do a better job of networking among all of us, and also to start sharing resources more effectively in terms of the use of video technology and the sharing of PowerPoints and papers that students were writing. So that conversation, which really happened in May, a year ago, everybody left the San Diego conference last year with this assignment to give it some more thought, sit with it for a while, think about, do we really want to take this on as a project? Because all the people involved with this are busy. That's a given. So a couple of months went by. And then we started doing some emailing in the summer. So actually it probably was only a month had gone by. And we started exchanging emails about the follow-up to the conversation that we had at the San Diego conference. So by the time we got to late July, August, it was clear that people really were ready to form a new network that was going to be more inclusive than anything any of us had done before, because we were going to very explicitly include Canada, the United States, Mexico, all of Central America, South America. And so that's how we started. And as part of that conversation, we also decided to have our initial conference and pair it with AERA, since a lot of the people involved in ARNA are also connected to AERA in one way or another. So it made sense to have ARNA's initial conference right after AERA. So that's why we're here May 1st and May 2nd in San Francisco. For me, this journey with action research began in the context of teaching school counselor preparation and becoming really keenly aware that the gap between research and practice in school counseling was very problematic for a number of reasons. I saw in our program and in talking with colleagues, I knew that this was common across many preparation programs for school counselors and for teachers, that the research methods course, which almost all programs require of their students, was one that, from the standpoint of the graduate students, seemed so very disconnected from what they were preparing to do, the practice that they were being inducted into, whether as a teacher, as a counselor, as a school principal. And I became really, it was a question that just wouldn't go away from me, which was, are there ways that you can approach the research methods class that will engage students directly in with research? And so that's how I was gradually moving towards action research without initially knowing that that's the direction that I was going. And it became clear to me over a number of years, this was a 3 or 4 year process for me, that the best way for our graduate students to learn research was by doing research. So the theoretical context of the work that I was doing was really experiential learning, which itself involves cycles of, doing and reflecting, and then applying the reflections to the area of practice that you've been introduced to, and it's a kind of never-ending process. So in beginning to develop an approach to research methods that was based on doing research, action research was a perfect tool for my students so that they could take the skills, the knowledge and skills related to research, and link that with their experiences doing their field work in school counseling. Just like student teachers have to do a period of student teaching that is based in a school site. School counselor trainees do field work in school counseling. They have to put in X number of hours, and they're supervised at school sites. So what we did in our program was to pair the fieldwork experience with an action research project. When I first started, they were semester-long projects, and now they've evolved into year-long projects. And I think in the long run, there's some new research that is going to need to be done in the coming years, which is to look at, once someone has gone through a master's training program and they've been introduced to action research as a mindset, as a value system, as an orientation towards theory and practice, and as an orientation towards the production of knowledge in the field, that what we don't know yet is, have those graduates of our programs, have they gone on and continued to engage in action research as practitioners? Or is it just something they do as part of their graduate training program and then they're done with it? So I'm interested in that, exploring that question over the next few years, because the number of pre-service teachers, pre-service school counselors, pre-service school principals that have over the last, let's say, 8 to 10 years been prepared with action research as a part of their preparation. That number is undoubtedly in the thousands now, just in the United States. But we don't yet have research which looks at, has all that training made an impact in terms of where they're going in their future. So my hope is that ARNA is going to be a part of not just building a network among people who are interested in action research, engaged in action research, people who teach action research, but that ARNA is going to develop innovative ways to help to work with the knowledge production process that occurs through action research. And we see evidence of emerging interesting approaches and perspectives on the sharing of the knowledge that comes through engaging in action research, such as Jack Whitehead's network, all through, well, it's not just through the UK now, he's doing this work all over the world, and has a website where people post their video documentaries of the process that they go through in doing reflective practice, for example. But there are many other places that have also been accumulating video evidence. And I think ARNA is going to end up being really at the cutting edge of helping to get that knowledge shared and to develop the capability of interactive processes so that as people, let's say, view videos in other parts of the world, that they will be able to provide feedback that will itself then be looped into the process of examining through a kind of critical self-reflective process to be able to offer feedback to practitioners who have taken the time to videotape their practice and put it on the web. I think that's one way that ARNA is going to contribute significantly to the dissemination of knowledge. And then lastly, I think in the print area, whether it's an online journal or whether it's an actual print journal, I think the need for more opportunities for not just scholars of action research, but people who are teacher practitioners, counselor practitioners, who are engaged in action research, to provide friendly venues and vehicles for them to be able to share their work, knowing that if they take the time to write, whatever, a 10-page, 15-page document addressing their work, that it'll be able to be shared with people and there'll be a way that they can get feedback on what they've written and what they've shared. So those are some ways that I think ARNA is going to be moving ahead in the future, and it's just a joy to be a part of it. It really is. It's become one of the most meaningful dimensions of my career as an educator, which spans quite a few years. So.